And we are live here with BFA Sports. Joe DeLeon here with my good friend, Mr. Ryan Roberts. The NFL draft is getting close, meaning we're doing something very different. You and I have appeared on so many different platforms at this point. One of these days, we're going to end up on ESPN, Ryan. But here we are yet again. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm excited about this, obviously, with BFA giving us this platform to do this RiseNDraft NFL draft special and just give a little more insight into the draft, man. Because like you said, I mean, as we're recording here on a Wednesday, we're only 15 days away, right? Or 16 days, something like that. So it's, I mean, what day is it? What day is it? I don't even know what day it is. What's
Wednesday the 13th. The thing
13th.
With the draft
so
is
15 days.
I try not to count the days because if I do, I get way too antsy. I just know that it's soon and that I'm going to be completely swamped that weekend, and then we're on to the next cycle, and it starts all over again.
Man, I already started the cycle, man. I was telling somebody on a radio spot today, I'm like, I started watching 2023 Kids like 2 days ago. So we're kosher there, man.
Yeah, I had somebody ask me the same thing, and for anyone who's familiar with our show, I don't usually watch film, and I pointed out that this cycle already started for the 2023, and it is kind of nice to flip the script and stop focusing on the same names that you talk about so constantly. But here we are, 2022 NFL draft. We're going to be doing a 16-pick mock draft for the first round. Then we're going to answer some mailbag questions that Ryan got sent to him on Twitter, so you know that they're going to be intelligent and great questions. Before we get to that, though, Ryan, can you share with our listeners quick message from a sponsor of the stream?
Yeah, of course, a part of this BFA Sports and RiseNDraft Countdown show. We are powered here by Sunrun Solar. You can scan the QR code right down at the bottom of the screen. You can type in the all capital draft, DRAFT, after your first name on the info form to get a check equal to 6 months of your electric bill at installation. What a deal. Reach out to Ken Spangenberg and the Sunrun Solar team to eliminate your electric bill today. Again, QR code at the bottom of the screen if you would like to take it up on that offer.
Yeah, I don't know why more people don't try solar. If I had a house and I had the money, I would certainly try it. So don't pass up on this opportunity. Great deal available.
It's so good, man. Honestly, like I've talked to solar companies. I mean, long-term speaking, you save so much money. I mean, it's like pennies on the electric bill, So
it's stupid, and especially I live in Los Angeles where the electric bill is insanely expensive for a one-bedroom apartment. So separate issue. Ryan, let's get into this mock draft though. Care to pull it up for us?
Yeah, man. Yeah, we're going to. So for everyone that doesn't know, we are both a part of RiseNDraft.com. I'd like Joe to know that he is also a part of the ship there. And we are going to be using the RiseNDraft mock draft simulator tonight to work through the first 16 picks of this mock draft, Joseph. So we are pulling it up now. Let me know if you can see that screen. I believe you should be able to. Correct.
Locked and loaded, baby. Locked and loaded.
So we are going to do a first round mock. And I would suggest if anybody hasn't checked out the site, I would definitely go take a look. We have a good partnership with NFL Mock Draft Database that allows us to use the mock draft simulator. Of course, I'm going to select all so we don't have any automatic computer picks. And we're going to get rocking. So how it's going to work is, I think since Joe's the guest here, right? Because this is my show. Yeah, it's my show. So
I thought it was the Joe DeLeon scouting show.
Oh, is that what it is? Oh, okay. I'm gonna let Joe get the first crack. Okay, I'm gonna let him start the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Wait. What? I always get the first crack.
Fine.
I always get the first pick. It's your turn to take it.
Okay, I'll take the Jacksonville Jaguars to start, though. Then we're just going to go one by one here, Joe. And I want this to be a predictive mock, which this means, and everybody out there, if you're listening, this is what we believe based upon what the inside scoop is and things that we're hearing around the league from the media side, from the team side, what we think is going to happen, okay? That is the whole emphasis on this mock draft, Joe. So not us as a GM, very predictive in the mock. And I would just like to say, if anybody's out there that wants to put in their 2 cents on what team's going to pick what, if you want to add a mailbag question that we'll answer throughout the show, please send it in. We're trying to be as interactive as possible here. So let's get off to the start here. I'm going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Joe, there's been a lot of heat here recently, man. Got to get rid of that little ad there. Jacksonville is going to take a defensive end. This I'm 100% sure on. I think they would love to trade back if they could, but I don't think they're going to be able to, right? Because there's no quarterback in this 2022 draft that is worth mortgaging several future first-round selections to get up to. So it's a defensive end. Aiden Hutchinson's the name for Michigan that everyone keeps talking about. The other guy, though, Joe, that everyone keeps talking about now over the last couple of days is the number 5 player on this board here. That's Travon Walker, who is a 6'5", 272-pound defensive end out of Georgia. Incredible traits. 4.51 in the 40-inch vert, just a stupid athlete for the position. I'm just not buying into it, man. I'm not buying into it. He's a really good developmental player. He has tremendous upside, but I think if you have number 1 overall pick, you need a little bit of a higher floor to this conversation. So I'm going to take Aiden Hutchinson, who just had a dynamic season for the University of Michigan, led their team in sacks, obviously was a part of the Heisman ceremony, and I believe, based upon everything that I'm hearing, that he is going to be the first selection to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, I don't really fully understand the Travon Walker sudden hype, and I think it's smokescreen season. We're in that point of time where someone's going to get thrown into the mix because you want to divert the other teams around you. You may be hoping to get some trades going on. So, yeah, that Travon Walker possibility to me it kind of screams, them trying to blow a little smoke right now.
Yeah, it's weird, man, because usually when you think about smoke screen, there's, a possibility of getting jumped, right? But the Jacksonville doesn't have anybody to worry about that. So I'm a little confused on what they would be smoke screaming exactly. But I think that I don't know. I think that they're just kind of leaving it open-ended a little bit because I think in a perfect world, Jacksonville would like to trade back. I just don't think that it's going to be in the cards for them. So, Joe, you are now on the clock. It looks like the Detroit Lions, which I feel like this pick, man, could go in so many different directions, to be very honest.
Yeah, it really could go in a million different directions. I think that if you're logically thinking here, it is Kayvon Thibodeau or Travon Walker. 2 of the best players available on the board. They're not going to take an offensive lineman because that's like the only good position group that they have is their offensive line, which is super ironic. But for them to add an edge player, I think would be really nice because defensively they're young. They really can upgrade at any spot. You do have the Okora brothers, if I'm correct. Are both of them there right now?
Yeah. They've gotten a lot out of Romeo during his career.
Yes.
And Julian, they're really excited about Julian, who's the more talented, of course.
Right. Yeah, so they kind of have a little bit of edge help. I think if we're going off of predictive, I don't think that this is the right decision, but we're really hearing a lot of buzz for Malik Willis right now, Ryan. And I have this strange sense that this second pick is going to be a very Lions pick, and they're gonna go after Malik Willis here. So give me Malik Willis, and I think it's just strictly off of that premise of this not being a smokescreen. I think that there is a lot of buzz being built for him. It's been built throughout the process since the Senior Bowl. You hear about him being a really high character kid. He's got all the traits. And I think that Detroit is seeing this roster that they have that's young, and they're trying to progress it. And instead of waiting until next year, take the guy that they're sold on, take the guy that they're in love with, and hope that leads to someone that they can develop while Jared Goff maybe finishes out this upcoming year as his final year in Detroit, because otherwise you keep putting off. This team needs to try and figure out what the future is at quarterback now and continue to add young pieces at other positions, because they also do have that other first-round pick that they can maybe draft a different position.
Well, let me ask you, Joe, and I'm very curious because we haven't talked about this a ton. So there's an assumption, I think it's very true, that this is not the most top-heavy draft of all time. And in that sense, I've heard a lot of people say, well, why wouldn't you just swing for the fences, right? I think that's kind of where the Travon Walker conversation comes into number one. You're just like, you might as well take a swing for the fence if you're not sold on any guy at the top. Do you feel like this type of draft this year that maybe isn't incredibly top heavy, are you willing to take more of a chance on a guy like a Malik Willis in a year that there's not many, I don't want to say surefire things, but there's more understanding of what players could be this year?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. Maybe more of that willingness to say like, oh, we don't have somebody who's in this elite range. So if we think that it's a little bit more balanced, it allows you to do some stuff like that. And I think the other thing too, talking about them taking Kayvon Thibodeau or Travon Walker, I mean, like, how much of a drop off are you going to get if you decide with that second first round pick to spend it on a different edge rusher? Obviously, there's more talent in those guys, but there's a lot of edge rushers in this class. It's a deep group. It's the deepest group, arguably, of all of the position groups. So it's like, just wait.
Yeah, no, I think it makes a lot of logical sense, and this is a deep edge group too. So for a lot of Lions fans that maybe wanted a defensive end there, that 32nd pick, I think that you're going to get decent value there, man, because this isn't a class where there's just two good edge rushers and then it kind of falls off the table. There's a lot of guys. So very interesting selection there from Malik Willis. Mm-hmm. Joe, I have to go, man, because I actually, no, I'm not going to go there. I was going to say I was going to go Travon Walker just because I'm hearing he's going to go in the top 2 or 3. But with how this board fell, I think that assumption would be that he probably would have went second in that understanding or that ideology. So I'm going to go a little different here with the Houston Texans. I think they would go this way. So a lot of talking points have been Laramie Tunsil at left tackle. Is he going to be there long-term with the team? And, he hasn't been moved yet, so he's still a part of the immediate plans, if nothing else. But right tackle is still a need. They've had Titus Howard, who they've moved from right tackle to right guard. I think he's a more natural interior player. So I'm going to draft Evan Neal, who has experience at both right tackle and left tackle at Alabama, and give them a starter at right tackle opposite Laramie Tunsil. And then if Laramie Tunsil's out the door, there's your long-term left tackle.
Yeah, I think you could ultimately go with an offensive lineman here, and that might be one of the first times I've seen an offensive lineman in this pick, because it feels like it's either Kyle Hamilton or whoever the best available edge rusher is. So, heck, yep. I mean, I think it makes a ton of sense. You're a bad football team. You think that you might have the quarterback figured out with Davis Mills, or maybe he's just another version of Daniel Jones, but still, regardless, you can't go wrong with an offensive lineman.
Absolutely. So now we go up to New York Jets, man, another team with 2 top 10 picks that have number 4 and number 10.
I think the fact that Kayvon and Travon Walker really should be exciting the New York Jets here at 4. They've got plenty of time with that other first-round pick to grab one of these corners. So you're talking about how the buzz is building for Travon Walker. For some reason, we're hating on Kayvon Thibodeau because we don't think he likes football enough. Give me Travon Walker here for the New York Jets to go at 4, just off that premise that we know that the buzz is building for him. I see this Jets pick as just best available defensive player that they decide to draft. So that Travon Walker pick, I think, adds some juice to a pretty young and weak defense that the Jets have.
I have a great stat for you. You ready for a stat, Joe? Or actually, it's a trivia question. I mean, that has a stat a part of it. So the last New York Jet to have 10+ sacks in a season was Muhammad Wilkerson. Excuse me, was Muhammad Wilkerson. Okay,
that was going to be my guess.
Who was the last true edge player to have 10+ sacks for the New York Jets?
Was it somebody recent?
No,
Mark Gastineau.
No, that's not that old, man. No, it was John Abraham in like the 2000s. Yeah,
I forget that John Abraham was on the Jets.
I know, man. He was a good player. He was a really good player for a couple of different teams. Want to pull up, man? Like I said, we're interactive, Joe. So we got James Davis on YouTube. He said, "I wonder one NFL team give me a chance at tight end."
No.
Well, James, if you want to pass along your information, man, maybe I can try to coordinate something for you. I don't know. But he also put in, nobody's talking about Arnold Ebiketie, how Arnold Ebiketie, the Penn State defensive end, had 9 sacks and 18 tackles for loss this year. James, I would say I think Ebiketie is very well liked in the NFL circles. So media might not hype him up as much maybe as you think that they should, and that's very fair. In the NFL circles, though, I think he is well liked. So, Joe, we are on. Oh, man, I got the Giants pick. Is that happening right now?
You have back-to-back Giants picks.
For people that don't know, Joe is an avid, diehard Giants fan. He loves the Giants, man. Loves his G-man.
I like the Giants. I don't know if I would say avid fan because it's kind of hard to root for a team that's not good.
That's fair. So, Joe, here I'm going to go. Again, this is predictive, not necessarily what I would do. I think there's a big hole at right tackle right now. Matt Pert has not been the guy that they hoped he would be. I know they've been, Nate Solder's still on the roster. That's not going to be the answer either. I think they're going to draft Ike Mekwonu, the offensive tackle from NC State, to come in and play right tackle opposite of Andrew Thomas. If he doesn't work out at right tackle, he could at least move inside the guard, and I think he'd be a really good guard at the next level. I have my reservations with him at tackle. But if we're doing predictive, I'm going to give the New York Giants Ike Mekwonu. Moving to the Carolina Panthers, another interesting team. I feel like if Malik Willis was on the board, this would have been Malik Willis' spot, but he's not. So,
Wait. You just glazed over. You just randomly threw that in at the end there, and I almost didn't even register it. You just said that you thought that the Giants were going to take Malik Willis at 5.
No. I think the Carolina Panthers at 6.
Okay.
I'll say this, Joe, and I'm not trying to change your line of thinking here. Okay, I'm not. But I think that they have high interest in Kenny Pickett. I'm just putting that out there. I'm not saying you should take him. I'm just putting it out in the universe.
That was actually the direction that I was leaning. And, I look at the rest of this board. Kayvon Thibodeau is a good option. It sounds like Stephon Gilmore is probably not coming back. I saw that the Rams are actively pursuing him right now as a free agent. But, maybe they decide to go corner here. There's some good options at corner. They already have Jeremy Chin, so do you also want to bring in Kyle Hamilton, who's a bigger version of Jeremy Chin? I'm going to bite the bullet. I'm going to go Kenny Pickett. I agree with you on that sense. I think that we originally had Matt Rule, if I remember correctly, recruiting Kenny Pickett, and he was committed to Temple, and then he ends up going to play at Pitt. So I just based on that alone, I think is enough. But then you're also talking about that potential buzz for him. Willis already goes. It's going to create a boost in the market for quarterbacks. So Kenny Pickett there at 6.
Man, I hate that pick, and not because you made it
me into it.
Well, I mean, because I think it is. I think it's realistic that it's going to happen, man. Kenny Pickett at number 6 is just not it, man. It's just really not. But, and this is my biggest thing, Joe. This is my biggest thing while I'm like pushing back on the Panthers drafting a quarterback just in general. Everyone's talking about Matt Rule fighting for his job. Is Kenny Pickett going to come and save your job if you're the Carolina Panthers? Like
that's how you lose your job. And I don't understand why they don't pick up the phone and go and get Jimmy Garoppolo, and why that hasn't been done yet. Because that to me is a job saving move, because the guy's good enough to start now, and you have a decent roster. Draft a freaking lineman there, and then or a defensive player there, and then move on with Jimmy Garoppolo. But they haven't done that.
And I had a bozo on Twitter actually have the same conversation with me. He said that Kenny Pickett is a better player than Jimmy Garoppolo right now, and I'm just like, guys, oh right. I actually made a poll and was like, who would you rather have in 2022? And I think it was like 80-20. I think Pickett lost, but yeah,
I'd at least hear the arguments of Baker Mayfield versus Jimmy Garoppolo. But for the love of God, do not compare a rookie, especially in a historically weak quarterback class, to a guy who was a starting quarterback for a Super Bowl team that was competing in a Super Bowl, and also was a backup on a Super Bowl winning team.
Who just took his team to the NFC Championship game too. And like, I'm not trying to give quarterbacks too much credit, because that was a really good defense he played on, and they hit fire there in the playoffs. But like, come on, man, come on. I mean, experience does matter. It does matter, especially in the short term. All right, so we're going to the second of the New York Giants picks.
Don't mess this up.
I'm not going to, man. I'm not going to overthink it. I'm giving him Kyle Hamilton. Doing it.
All right.
Actually, no.
No. Don't. You're going to mess it up.
I just saw Kayvon Thibodeau's name, man. I feel like I'm messing it up if I don't take Kayvon Thibodeau.
I think either way, I'm good. But the only thing to me is if Kayvon's sliding that far, probably let him keep sliding.
This stinks. This absolutely stinks.
They do need edge help. I won't press you on that.
Yeah, I
desperately need an edge, like a talented edge.
I think they just need pass rusher more than Kyle Hamilton. So I mean, in a vacuum, I'd probably take Kyle, but I'm gonna give him Kayvon Thibodeau. New York Giants just need more. I mean, they have Azeez Ojulari, who I thought had a really solid rookie year, but they need a different type of guy on the other side of him. And Kayvon is that. He's a bigger guy, 6'4", 250 pounds, 34-inch arms, explosive. He's different than Azeez Ojulari, and I think he'd be a really good battery mate for him.
Yeah, Azeez Ojulari was really good in his first year, and I was excited about him. But he's like a secondary guy. He's a guy who squeaks in when something goes wrong and the offensive line messes up, but he's not like a huge disruptor. He's not a big guy. He's not like crazy twitchy. That's what Kayvon Thibodeau is. And if you tap into that, probably not ready to do that immediately, but I think you tap into that in a couple of years, the two of them as a pairing, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah, no, I like the pairing. I think it makes a lot of sense because they're very different players, which I think will kind of work well together. I mean, I could even see some sub packages where they're rushing from the same side, to be honest, at points. So
Yeah.
this one, Joe, I'm not going to pick it for you, but there's a pick that makes sense. Yeah, good. Atlanta Falcons.
You keep making my picks for me here, man.
I'm sorry.
The Rise and Draft mock draft with Joe watching. No, but I think so. Kyle Hamilton has. You see these projections for him where he's going to get drafted, and I feel like he's either gone by pick 3 to Houston, but once you kind of pass through that middle clump there and he's still available, I think that those other teams, like the Jets and the Giants specifically, and the Panthers, aren't really hurting for a safety. And I know that Kyle Hamilton, a lot of people feel, and I feel this, that he is the best player in this class, and he's super, super talented. But once he slides a little bit, I keep seeing him ending up in Atlanta. And I think this is perfect. It reminds me, he reminds me, not in terms of style, but just his size. Like Keanu Neal was a big safety and he was really, really good for the Atlanta Falcons. So you're going in a guy who's a lot better than Keanu Neal was. He steps in and starts right away. Arthur Smith trying to make a splash here, man. You do it by getting the best, most talented defensive player in the class. Don't overthink it. You get some serious juice there on it. They've already got a good corner too, from AJ Terrell. So that would be a fantastic pick if they got him.
You know where Kyle Hamilton's from?
He's from Georgia.
From the state of Georgia, man. Yep, absolutely. So makes a ton of sense. It makes a ton of sense. So that's going to conclude the first 8 selections here. We are going to get to the next 8 before we get onto the mailbag for tonight. Joe, do you want to hit us with the ad read real quick if you have it up?
I do have it up. Do I have the correct one up? Powered by Sunrun Solar. Scan the QR code and type draft after your first name on the info forum to get a check equal to 6 months of your electric bill at installation. Reach out to Ken Spangenberg and the Sunrun Solar team to eliminate your electric bill today. And again, we were just talking about this. Don't miss out on that opportunity. That's a really fantastic opportunity that they're providing.
Yep, the QR code is right down this way. Yeah, there it is. That down that corner of the screen. If you want to take advantage of that offer, make sure to reach out today. And if anybody wants to throw in any 2 cents into the conversation, please feel free. We're trying to make this as interactive as we possibly can. So, Joe, we are on to pick number 9, the Seattle Seahawks, who just traded up to this spot, of course, with the Russell Wilson trade to the Denver Broncos. They're another team that, if Malik Willis was there, that would be a very interesting conversation. Joe, I'm going to do something that you're not going to believe. You ready for this? Are you ready?
Yep. Oh, Jesus. Don't. No. Oh, you did it.
I think it's going to happen. I think he's going to get drafted very early. I do.
Why?
And for the people. Why? Because the NFL's dumb. What do you want me to say about it, man?
No, I'm not yelling at you. I'm just, it's going to happen. It's just, but like, why is that even a thing?
He's Desmond Ridder, quarterback for Cincinnati, comes off the board number 9. Why? Because he's 6'3 plus. He started a ton of games. He's a really good athlete. He's got a good arm. It checks boxes, quote unquote. We don't account for the fact that he's not very accurate and he's a little limited as far as ball placement and just general accuracy. So I would never do it. I wouldn't even consider Desmond probably till the 3rd round. But yeah, the buzz is there, man. The buzz is there. I think he's going to be one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks off the board. I think it's possible. So Desmond Ridder, Seattle Seahawks.
That has been a strange talking point the past couple of days. So honestly, I mean, I don't hate the likelihood of it happening. I think that him going in the 1st round sounds scarily possible, and I'm hoping to God that it is a smokescreen so some dumbass team trades into the 20th pick. But man, 9, heck, that's such a Seattle pick too, though, is to pick a guy that just why was he taken that high? Why was he taken there when he made sense later on? They have a tendency to do that, and I think if they miss out on Pickett and on Malik Willis, that screams Seattle there for me. So that makes sense.
Yeah, it's just one of those situations, man, where Seattle is impossible to predict for. They're a lot later in this first round, but I mean, I did a joking mock draft one time with on our show where I gave him Boye Mafe at 9 because like they're just weird, man. Like who knows what they're going to take? So I don't think anything's out of the realm of possibility for the Seattle Seahawks, unfortunately.
So number 10 for the New York Jets. I already know who's left on the board, and this is another pick that's very commonly done. Ahmad Gardner, Cincinnati. So we get back-to-back Cincinnati players. Man, I might have a stroke on draft night if Desmond Ridder goes before Sauce Gardner. But they are, again, like we talked about with that first pick that they had, a weak defensive team that I think is just looking for youth. You've got a defensive-minded head coach at best available here. And Ahmad Gardner sliding to 10, I think is perfect, and he slots right in as the best corner on that team right now.
Yeah, I mean, quietly then corner becomes a lot better of a strength, not only just because you get Sauce Gardner, but also for the fact that Breece Hall now becomes your second corner. And I think he's going to be a really good second corner for the New York Jets because he's played a lot better than I think people kind of give him credit for. So Sauce Gardner to number 10, which means Travon Walker and Sauce Gardner off the board to the New York Jets in the top 10. I think the Jets are going to be pretty happy with that. I mean, again, I would like it. I would like it more if it was flipped. Like maybe you took Sauce at 4 and then you took Walker at 10, even though 4 is too high for Sauce as well. But like, man, just Travon Walker unsettles me a little bit. Washington Commanders, Joe. I was on the radio earlier and I accidentally called them the Washington football team. I need to get that out of my vernacular pretty quick.
Considering people were still saying Redskins until very recently, I think there's like a year grace period until you figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, there really is. So I think this is where the wide receiver trend starts. I actually think it starts possibly at 8, possibly at 10, but here it's going to start at number 11. This is going to be a little weird, Joe, because I like Garrett Wilson the most. You know this, and he's even higher on this draft board, but I'm going to give him Drake London at pick 11 because I think that he's just a little better of a fit for what they already have with Terry McLaurin. I feel like Wilson and McLaurin are a little similar, so getting the big body, yak, physical player like a Drake London on the outside to pair with a Terry McLaurin that you can kind of move all over the place. That's where I'm looking here. So Drake London comes off the board to the Washington Commanders with the 11th overall selection.
And I also remember from the conversations that you and I have had that he's somebody who is really trending upward. So for him to go to 11, heck, that makes a ton of sense. They need receivers, and they also kind of missed out. Actually, wait, they don't need a quarterback anymore. They have Carson Wentz leading the team, so you just need to give him some toys to play with.
Yeah, I mean, needs something, man. Because right now, I mean, who's their best receiver after him, man? I mean, they drafted De'Ami Brown. They drafted De'Ami Brown last year. They do have Curtis Samuel. I forgot.
He's okay. I mean, like he
always gets injured though.
Yeah, and it does help that. Holy crap! I'm having a total brain fart on who their starting running back is.
Oh, Antonio Gibson.
Yeah, Antonio Gibson, and then J.D. McKissick left, I believe, but Antonio Gibson is a good receiver as well, so that's a nice option. So here we are at number 12 for Minnesota, and heck, man, I see that Charles Cross, man, fell out of the top 10. I would think that there'd be a
do they really need him though? Do they need him?
I'm debating.
They have Darisaw and Brian O'Neill. Like it's
right.
Offensive tackles, man.
Right. So I'm thinking to myself if I agree with that, and that's kind of where I was hesitant. But I see that Charles Cross is available. I would honestly wonder if somebody makes a phone call and trades up.
Saints,
like the
New Orleans Saints. Yeah.
The Saints would be freaking out right now if he fell that far. But on that note, and what you just kind of pointed out there, don't necessarily need a tackle, but Cross makes a lot of sense in terms of projection because he's made it this far, not for the team fit. I think you got to go Derek Stingley here at number 12 because they need corner help. They have been horrendous in their secondary. You know, you get Xavier Rhodes no longer there. This team has been trying to figure that situation out for a while. So they've been drafting unsuccessfully at corner for what seems like a good amount of time now. So to trying to fix it now was huge.
I love the fit for a couple different reasons. One, cornerback is a massive need. It absolutely is on the roster. Also, they have Patrick Peterson on their team, so it's got the little bit of the LSU passing of the torch there if Derek Stingley is able to stay healthy. So I like the fit. I think it makes a ton of sense for the Minnesota Vikings. They've been a team that if Sauce gets down to 12, they've been a team that people have just kind of been, yes, that one makes total sense. So Houston Texans.
What do we got?
So their first pick that I gave him was Evan Neal.
Definitely not taking Cross.
No, they're not taking. Well, yeah, I mean, unless you trade Laramie Tunsil, they need 2 tackles maybe. But yeah, I agree. You don't need that. They just re-signed Brandon Cooks. I know that could change at any point, but I feel like Garrett Wilson's probably wouldn't be in the immediate needs there.
Jermaine Johnson, a receiver would make a lot of sense, or Jermaine Johnson would make sense. A very Texans pick would be to take Jordan Davis because they just
that's what I was looking at, honestly. Right. I mean, Lovie Smith obviously is a defensive guy. I think he's going to like having a guy like. I'm going to take Jordan Davis. Actually, I am.
Oh my God.
I think the NFL is a lot higher in Jordan Davis than the media is, because the media kind of questions the usage and the percentage of snaps and all that good talking points. But I mean, 6'6 plus, 341, running 4.78, like that just does not come around very often, man. Historically gifted athlete at that size. So I'm going to give the Houston Texans Jordan Davis to pair with Evan Neal, man. They just got massive very quickly there. My Lord. 6'6 plus on both of them. 337 pounds for Evan Neal, 341 for Jordan Davis. So they got a little bit of size there now, man.
Can we please, if that happens, if they get Jordan Davis and Evan Neal, can we please, the Texans, please run jumbo with Evan Neal and then tackle over, just bring in Jordan Davis, put him on the field. For the love of God, I need to see that.
Georgia did that, man. They put him.
But that's what I'm saying. Could you? I don't know how big their tackles were, but could you imagine Evan Neal and Jordan Davis either lined up together or put Jordan Davis in the backfield behind Evan Neal, lined up with his hand in the dirt?
I'm not trying to get people excited too much for 2023, but they also have a defensive tackle named Jalen Carter, who might be the best defensive lineman that was on that team last year, in my opinion. On goal line sometimes, Joe, they would bring Jordan Davis in, they put him as a blocking tight end, they put Jalen Carter in a fullback, all 6'3", 315 pounds of him, man.
Oh, God, that gets me juiced up.
Fantastic content, man. Fantastic content. So
big boy football. All right, number 14 here, Baltimore Ravens.
See, that would have been the pick right there.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
I was just thinking that would get me juiced up if they were able to get Jordan Davis, because they just love taking defensive linemen. But you know who I think is the epitome of a Baltimore Ravens first round pick? I maybe they go receiver here, maybe it's Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave, but Jermaine Johnson, man, they just love just constantly drafting edge rushers. I don't know what it is, and it seems to work for them. So give me Jermaine Johnson drafting another edge rusher.
He fits them too, man.
Yes.
Like he I think he profiles, he's a better athlete, but like Matt Judon to a degree, right? Like he just reminds me of what, I mean, they were the ones that drafted Zadarius Smith originally. Like that's their type, right? So I love that fit, honestly. He does just seem like a Baltimore Raven to me.
Right.
So the first of the Philadelphia Eagles selections, of course, they had just traded. They originally had 15, 16, and 19. They traded with the New Orleans Saints. So now they have the first round pick in 2023. So now they are left with just the 2 first round picks instead of the 3 originally that they had. So the first of the 15, Joe, this is a no-brainer for me, man. No-brainer. I'm going to do the Eagles good. Everybody knows I'm a little bit of an Eagle hater, right? I would love to give them Charles Cross, but they have Jordan Mailata, who's a stud at left tackle. They still have Lane Johnson. You got to give a wide receiver here, man. I know they've drafted wide receiver back-to-back years in the first round, but I'm giving them Garrett Wilson because he's still on the board. Garrett Wilson to combine with Devonta Smith. Devonta's a little more of a sleeky, smooth, intermediate separator. Garrett Wilson does a little bit of everything. He can win vertically. He can uncover short to intermediates. He's got some yak skills as well. So Garrett Wilson to join the ranks of Devonta Smith and Quez Watkins with the deep threat ability.
Yeah, that's pretty nutty to add in Garrett Wilson into a progressing receiver group, and that is going to be very, very dangerous if they're able to end up with that. So the last pick here, see, this is just silly that it ends up like this. I really don't think that this is going to happen.
Yeah,
I think based on the fact that they made those trades to have 19 and 16, they sure as hell are going to try and move up. And I think that the minute that Charles Cross slides probably to like 8, they're going to start picking up the phone and freaking out, trying to move up and move one of those picks to go get him, because they lost Teron Armstead. They really, really need offensive line help. They're probably not in the market for a quarterback, I think, as much as people think. But to go and get Charles Cross in that situation and not have to move, and you keep both your picks, like, that's a layup, but I don't think that's realistically going to happen.
Yeah, no, it's not going to happen. The reason that the Saints wanted that extra first-round pick is they're ready to trade up for one of these tackles. They are. Like you said, whoever the guy is that's falling, quote-unquote, is going to be why the New Orleans Saints are trying to move up. A little inside tidbit, I was also told this after the trade happens, because the immediate reaction was trading up for a quarterback. Offensive tackle seems to be the more likely scenario there, which Joe just kind of covered there. So, New Orleans Saints with the 16th overall pick. Joe, that is going to end the mock draft for tonight, man. I'm going to save this guy here. You can also save these on RiseNDraft.com. And we're going to touch back on 17 through 32 next episode. So we're going to stop the mock draft there. We're going to transition into some mailbag questions. Like I said, I got a bunch on my Twitter earlier. I already put it on the doc. But if anybody has any questions in real time, please throw them out there. We'll make those the priority ones too. We'll bump them to the top of the order. So if you have any questions, please hit it in the comments section. Whether you are on YouTube or you're on Twitter, we don't care. We will hit those questions as we do. Before we do, just want to remind everybody out there that this BFA Rise and Draft Countdown show is powered by Sunrun Solar. You can scan the QR code at the bottom of the screen, and you can type the word draft, all capitals, after your first name on the info form to get a check that can be equal up to 6 months of your electric bill at installation. Reach out to Ken Spangenberg, and the Sunrun Solar team to eliminate your electric bill today. All right, Joe, we got a lot of mailbag questions, man. So we're going to try to get to as many as we can before the show is over. Okay. You can, if you want to throw one out that you think is the best question, or else I'm just going to start at the top here. So,
well, why don't I read them for you and then we rip through them, okay?
Let's do it. Yep, perfect.
Okay. All right, let's start from the top, Ryan, with these questions. First one up from @Seahawks Dan, who trades up with Seattle at 9. We know Schneider isn't sitting and picking, not his style, but we also haven't seen the Seahawks picking that early in a long time. So I don't know if that's as much of a guarantee to happen as we think.
Don't try to predict the Seattle Seahawks. It's going to burn you, man. Like, just based upon who they're picking, scenarios, trades, like, just don't try to predict what the Seattle Seahawks are thinking. If there is a team though that's going to trade up, there's 2 teams that popped into my head, Joe. One, we talked about it, New Orleans Saints, right? If one of those offensive tackles starts sliding and they get near the 9th pick, or they are at the 9th pick, then, I mean, they're packaging both those picks to get up there, at least one of those picks, and then a future first, whatever it might be. So I think New Orleans Saints get up to get an offensive tackle makes a lot of sense. The other team I was thinking about is the Pittsburgh Steelers with the 20th pick. If there's a quarterback that's sliding that they really like, say Malik Willis, for instance, they want to package a couple deals, come up from 20 to 9. That's the other team that I think makes a little bit of sense.
Yeah, I think those are probably the 2 most likely. But I do like your point that can't really predict what the Seahawks are going to do, because they're going to do whatever. They're going to do the least expected outcome possible in that situation. At T-Money Culture, very strange spelling. Thoughts on Khalil Shakir?
Yeah, so Khalil Shakir, for everybody out there, is a Boise State wide receiver. I was honestly not a little surprised. I was a little shocked, to be honest, to see how he tested at the combine, because he ran like in the 4.3s, and I thought he was like a 4.4 high type of dude, like 4.47, 4.48, somewhere in that ballpark, which was plenty fast enough. But just to illustrate the fact that he tested at a much higher level of an athlete than I anticipated him being. Mm-hmm. So I will say for Khalil Shakir, I think that he just has a smooth all-around profile. I don't think he is your dynamite deep threat. I don't think he is your crazy instant separator. I just think he does a little bit of everything very well. And I think that will serve him to being selected somewhere from the 3rd to the 5th round, somewhere in that ballpark. Strikes me as ceiling, high number 3 type of receiver, low floor. I think he doesn't have excuse me. I think he has a higher floor. So at worst, I think he's probably a fourth receiver in the situation. So I think that he's a third to fourth receiver on a team, somewhere in the third to fifth rounds. Very solid all around wide receiver.
Next question that we have here from @Cole, Cole1, which mid-late round pick will end up a quality player for the LA Rams?
I mean, if we're talking LA Rams, I got to think it's going to be an edge, right? Like that's the position.
6.
Yeah, rounds. Yeah. Oh, if they even have a draft pick in round 6, I don't even know if they do, man. But I mean, look, they had a big success, obviously down the stretch of the season with Von Miller. He did a fantastic job coming in from the Denver Broncos, which should be no surprise, right? So I think if we're talking about an edge that can make a possibility in a impact in that range, you're talking about a player that's either only has one trick to his arsenal or is an injury player, right? Because why else would an impact player slide to that spot? So I think when you're projecting that, I think Christopher Allen is a very interesting player out of Alabama. He was actually off to a great start this past year. First game, I think he had a couple tackles for loss. He had a sack in the opener, and then he got injured and missed the entire season. I know his trainer that's been working with him, Eddie McGivera, who is worked with Kwity Paye last year. He's been working with Aiden Hutchinson, David Ajabo, a great list. And he also is working with Christopher Allen. And he told me, man, do not forget about Christopher Allen. The kid can play some football, and he played a lot of football at Alabama. So my answer would be late round edge, Christopher Allen from Alabama, taking a shot on him despite some injury backgrounds.
All right, next question we have for you here at Andrew Lampkey NFL. What is with the Karlaftis hate, and why does the media claim he has no length when his arms are longer than Hutchinson's? I don't think there's any hate. I just think that there's overhype with some of the guys at the top.
Yeah, it is really weird, though. I did highlight it, Joe. It's like the only thing you hear about Karlaftis is, man, he has no length. He's got short arms. And then he has longer arms than Aiden Hutchinson, who's thought to be this first overall selection. So I do think it's kind of weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is a little bit weird that we kind of overlook it with Hutchinson, but we don't talk about that length for Karlaftis. Now, it is kind of funky because I don't think that they're that as far off as a lot of people consider them to be.
No, I really don't think so. So, I mean, I don't think that there's hate as much, Andrew. I think that the fact of the matter is that there is a difference in production this past year, right? And I think that's what kind of people are going to look at a little bit. And I think that they're going to hold it against George Karlaftis, the fact that, like, hey, man, Jalen Alexander that played behind him is a pretty good football player. They had a couple decent players on that defense, but for the most part, you knew number 5 was the guy that you had to counteract. So, like, they're double teaming them. They're triple teaming them. They're doing everything in that situation. And Aiden Hutchinson had a great season. There's no doubt. And he had extra attention at times too. But also, it's hard to double team him consistently when you have David Ajabo on the other side of him. Like, you're a pretty darn good football player on the other side. So right. I just think there's some context to the production. Production doesn't always mean everything, but because, you know, I'm a big George Karlaftis fan. But to that sense, I think that's why that little overrated or underrating of George Karlaftis happens.
All right. Next question that we have for you here. What do you think about Cameron Thomas or Brian Asamoah? I guess give your take on both of them.
Yeah. I mean, we'll work for Cameron Thomas. I think that Cameron Thomas is very similar player to Aiden Hutchinson, to be honest. I think he is looked down a tier below because San Diego State, in my opinion, used him incredibly wrong, man. Like, I hated how they used him because it shows some versatility. I mean, Joe, from a snap-to-snap basis, he'd be at 9 tech. Then they move him into like a 4-4-eye. Then they play him as a nose, like just all over the place, man. Like, it was just bizarre to watch. So he's the guy that's 6'4", 265 pounds at times playing nose tackle, which just like, yeah, I mean, he's playing in the Mountain West, so like it doesn't matter that much, I guess. But like, he's got better length than Aiden Hutchinson, tested right around the same. I think he's a really good football player, man. I think that he should be drafted somewhere in the late first round, if not early second. I think Cameron Thomas is a good football player. I don't like Brian Asamoah, though, as a player. I don't. He's very undersized. He's about 6 foot, 225 pounds. Run and chase well. Think he has bad eyes. Think he has no ability to counteract at the point of attack. He can run. There's no doubt. But I mean, that's only going to get you so far playing on the second level. We've seen a lot of athletic linebackers who just could not hack it because they didn't have good eye discipline or they just weren't physical enough to play against the run. That's kind of what I see with Brian Asamoah from Oklahoma.
All right, on to the next one. Tariq Woolen or Zion McCollum? If I had to weigh in on this one, I would say Zion McCollum. I think Tariq Woolen's fun, and it's cool to say, hey, look at the really tall corner that's fast. But the dude can't turn. And I think having a corner who can't turn is it's redundant. It doesn't make a lot of sense to have a guy that can't transition properly.
And you just said tall and can run, right? But like Zion McCollum ran like 4.3 something and also is like 6'2" corner. So like they're both tall, athletic kids. I agree with you though. I agree. And you saw Tariq Woolen down in Mobile a little bit because Joe was live at the Senior Bowl. He could run, man. And like if he's just press bailing and just running with guys, like cool, I can get to it, but I just think that his transitions are just so clunky. I think he's going to give up a million completions at the next level. Like short to intermediate, I think there's just going to be instant separation against him. So I like Zion McCollum more in this sense because I just think that he's a little bit of a stickier, quick-footed type of guy. So I would also take Zion McCollum. And I know, Joe, you're a big fan of him because he's got that FCS background too, man. So
yes, I will always plug, especially my Sam Houston guys. Shout out to Walk On Radio, but I will always plug my FCS guys, although they're not technically not FCS anymore. They're moving up to FBS.
Oh, it was Sam Houston State's moving up?
Yeah, they're moving up to, I think they're moving up to CUSA. Them and Jacksonville State are moving up.
I thought James Madison was moving up too to the Sun Belt.
They are moving.
That's
so
crazy.
they're moving. We're not going to get into the weeds. I could talk conference expansion and FCS teams for literally 3 hours. So I'm not going to allow you to take me down that rabbit hole. At Loans Matthew, should the Jets consider trading up to get Hutchinson? I mean, I would say no. Again, this is like what we were talking about earlier. There's all this edge talent. You shouldn't trade up for an edge in this class. I think that's a waste of picks. This is a deep class. There are a lot of edge rushers. Why trade up and give up late round picks that you can use to get nice quality players for your roster?
He said the Jets, right? The Jets are the fourth overall pick. Why would you trade up and give up capital to take Aiden Hutchinson at 1 when you could take Kayvon Thibodeau at 4 in theory,
or Travon Walker at 4?
Yeah,
or
I
at
get
10, you could take Jermaine Johnson.
You could.
It's like are we like really? It's like a slight step down with each guy, just a slight step down.
Well, I think Kayvon's better than Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, honestly, Joe, I think it's like a conversation whether you prefer Aiden Hutchinson to Jermaine Johnson. Like, I think that's just like a toss up, to be honest. So, like, yeah, I mean, yeah. So, I mean, to the answer, Matthew, no, I would not, because I just don't think that even if you think there's a separation, I don't think it's big enough to make that trade up to number 1.
All right. Next question that we have for you here at Mock Draft Monday: is John Metchi III the most forgotten prospect? I would counter that with, I think that John Metchi was probably one of the more over talked about players in the 2023 class heading into the season, and he wasn't used as often and as effectively as Jameson Williams was, and the injury I'm sure doesn't help.
Well, yeah, I mean, he was slightly overhyped in the summer. I mean, people had him in first round mocks. I think he was always kind of more of a day 2 player, like a second round caliber player just in general, because I don't think that he has. I mean, he measured in like 5'11", 187 pounds. Like, he's not even a big guy. He's got solid speed. Like, everything just about him is just very solid. I think he's going to be a good pro, though. Mm-hmm. So to this question, I think, he might be the most underrated wide receiver now, because I think that some team is going to get a bargain bin on him. I mean, I was on a podcast earlier where I just kind of said, like, he's going to present a big value in this draft. So if you want to call him the most underrated wide receiver in the group, I'll accept it. Not the most underrated player, but I mean, certainly I think some team is going to get a good value on a guy like John Metchi in somewhere in the 3rd or 4th round.
All right, moving on to our next question here. We've got a few more left. Who are your favorite mid-late round deep threat speed wide receivers? So why don't we go with 2 here?
Yeah, I mean, so if we're talking about mid-round deep threats, right? So we're thinking about speed. I think Danny Gray is a guy that's going to go a little lower than some people think. SMU, just ran 4.33, I think, at the combine. He's got a lot of deep threat to him. It's just kind of the only thing he really does that well, though. So I don't think that he's going to get – he reminds me a little bit of Quez Watkins, and Watkins ended up going in the 6th round. So I think he's a developmental type of guy in that role. And another guy, Joe, I mean, we have to mention the fastest receiver at the combine, right? I mean, second fastest player at the combine, Tyquan Thornton out of Baylor. I mean, 6'2", right around.
Allegedly broke the 40, 40
well,
time.
don't get me started on that timing at the combine, but 4.28 speed, man, verified. Kid can flat out run, and he worked with Chancey Stuckey, who's now the wide receiver coach at Notre Dame at Baylor this past year. He was such a better player in 2021 than he had previously been over the past couple of years at Baylor. So Tyquan Thornton, I think, is worth a look. He reminds me a little bit of Robbie Anderson. I get those types of vibes from him.
All right, continuing forward here. I'm not even going to try. AZI.
Say it.
Azalake 15. Who would be a better day 2 wide receiver prospect for the Colts, Justin Ross or David Bell? Man, I don't know if either of those options are like, I feel like you got Michael Pittman and he's already kind of fits what both of those guys do. So like, why would you draft another receiver who does the same thing? Like, I feel like they need some speed, man. I feel like they need a little juice.
Yeah,
Pickens or Christian Watson.
My biggest quarrel with this question is that I don't think either one of those guys should go on day 2 anymore. Like, I just don't think so. I mean, starting with David Bell. David Bell was a historically bad tester. Like, it was really bad, man. And testing isn't everything. I think he's a solid football player, but I think he's going to go more in the 4th to 5th round range at this point now. I don't think he's going to go day 2. So if I had to pick between the two, I'd probably go David Bell. Unfortunately, and if you would have talked to me 3 years ago, I would have said like, oh man, Justin Ross, top 10, top 15 type of player. Like, no doubt when he comes out, he just isn't the same player anymore, man. Like, these injuries just have zapped the athleticism. He just isn't the same guy anymore. So if I had to pick between those with a gun in my head, I would go David Bell, but I honestly would not draft either one of those on day 2 anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've both been kind of, it's like a name recognition thing with both these players. Next question. Lambo Bow. Wait, I'm
Lambo Labo.
Man, these are I don't know how people come up with their handles, man. I don't. Very interesting. Hi Ryan, responding on here since I'm private and you don't follow me. Why'd you put that in there?
I'm sorry, man. He messaged me, so I copied it.
It's like with Anchorman. If you put it on the prompter, of course I'm gonna read it.
Next week I'm gonna put something like very inappropriate in here.
Yeah, and then you're gonna end my career.
Good.
My question is is this the year that teams don't pay as much attention to their prospect thresholds, athletic testing, age, etc.? No, I don't. I feel like that's not the case.
I think that people are getting more lenient with it just because we've seen a lot of outliers in recent years. So like it used to be 34-inch arms was like the cutoff for offensive tackles. Now they've kind of moved it down to 33 because of the Rashawn Slaters and even Penei Sewell last year of the world. So I think they're getting more lenient to the question, but like, no, they're not completely forgetting about it. There's no way. They're still paying attention to it. And I mean, honestly, there's a lot of older scouts in the business where that's how they've been taught, and they're not going to change now. So I don't think that you're completely forgetting about it. No.
Last question that we have here. At Fast Draft Takes, a player that consensus in league. What? A player that that the consensus are high on, but you thought were atrocious. So, oh man, wait. Let me.
You know my answer already. Go ahead.
Wait, no, I'm blanking. So somebody that everyone loves, but you completely hate.
The league hates, not necessarily media though. That the league league really likes. They really like, and I don't think it's very good.
We just did an episode where we talked. Who is it? I'm blanking.
Do you want a hint? Do you want a hint?
Give me a hint. I would like to be able to guess this.
I'll give you a position. Offensive tackle. Offensive tackle.
Oh my God, that doesn't really wait. Oh my God. Now, who is it?
Central Michigan, Bernard Raymond.
Oh, Bernard Raymond. I was thinking of another guy. Wait, go. I'm gonna pull the other guy, but Bernard Raymond. Yes. Why is it Bernard Raymond?
Yeah. All right. Bernard Raymond's going to go in the first round, Joe. It's going to happen, and I just don't get it. Yeah,
you
it's going to happen.
Think so?
Yeah, I do. I really do. Yeah, I would almost bet money on it, to be honest. So Bernard Raymond, for people who haven't seen him, Central Michigan left tackle, 6'6", 300+ pounds, shorter arms. People act like he's got some length, but it's like sub 33-inch arms. The whole story is senior bowler, former tight end, certain offensive tackle. His film was just really rough to me. Like, it's really rough. I think he's a ways away from being a starting caliber NFL offensive lineman, which is fine, except for the fact that someone's going to draft him in the first round. He's already 25 years old during his rookie season. So, like, he's got a shorter span of development too. So I'm just out on Bernard Raymond, man. I wouldn't draft him the first 3 rounds, to be honest. Like, I didn't like the film at all. I think the traits are a little overstated, and he's already 25 years old. So that's my guy. Nah,
I remember who it was. It was Kenny Pickett. I remember on the quarterback show that we did, was completely shocked that you didn't have him in the top 5 for quarterbacks.
Well, I'm the hot take guy apparently. So, like, Joe, we did have one question just popped up.
Okay,
One
cool.
touch on it real quick. I'll read it. Kevon MC. Kevon, thank you so much for the question. Who would be a good early day 2 offensive lineman pickup for the Colts? Given the draft class would you go wide receiver, offensive lineman at pick number 42? So great question. If I'm looking at what I think the board might look like at 42.
They need an offensive lineman though for the Colts.
Who's their left tackle now? Because I know they have Braden Smith at right tackle. Costanzo retired. Do they have
Eric
Fisher. They had Eric Fisher. Eric Fisher's not very good though. So, the other one is also they had their right guard just switched teams as well. So maybe that's
maybe Zion Johnson's on the board. Like, I think that
I don't think he's going to be on the board though. A couple of guys I think could be on the board. I'll start with tackles. Daniel Falele from Minnesota will probably be there. Tyler Smith from Tulsa will probably be there. Abraham Lucas from Washington State. Those are probably a couple of the top guys that will probably be on the board at that point. Guards at 42. Darian Kennard might be there from Kentucky. That's an interesting player. Luke Gadecki from Central Michigan. Sean Ryan from UCLA might be there all as well. I'm going to say Sean Ryan because I love Sean Ryan, so that's just going to be the conversation. I think he could play left tackle potentially. Yeah, but yeah, and Kevon just put into the chat also our left tackle was Matt Pryor, backup last year. We lost Chris Reed and Mark Lewinsky. Yep, Lewinsky was I was talking about. Kevon, Mark Lewinsky is also a really good dude. I know he's not on your team anymore, but I met him at the Combine. Got to actually, he wasn't even a part of the Combine. It was like 2 years ago, and he was just chilling out in our suite there. So he was a cool dude. So just a little note there. So yeah, if we're talking about offensive tackle, those were a couple guys. I'm going to say Sean Ryan because I think he's got a little flexibility to play between tackle and guard. So that would be my pick there, man. That would be my pick. Don't touch a center. You have Ryan Kelly anyway, so you don't really need to touch center. But yeah, so it conclude the mailbag questions for today. We appreciate everybody for this first installment. We'll be back over the next 2 Wednesdays and also the Monday after the draft to do a little bit of recap episode. Again, this is the RiseNDraft Countdown Show, part of the BFA network, powered by Sunrun Solar. You can scan the QR code before we leave, and you can type the word draft after your first name on the info form to get a check that is equal up to 6 months of your electric bill at installation. Reach out to Ken Spanenberg and the Sunrun Solar team to eliminate your electric bill today. So we'll be running through the second half of our mock draft next week. We're taking some more mailbag questions. We want to thank everybody out there that took the hour to dive into the 2022 NFL Draft. I want to thank my co-host, of course, Joe DeLeon, who is also my co-host on the Believe in NFL Draft Prospect podcast. You can follow me at RiseNDraft on Twitter. You can follow Joe at Joe DeLeon, spelled exactly like that, all lowercase. We'll be back next week, folks. Make sure to tune in, and we'll keep talking about the 2022 NFL Draft. Thank you.